So hi, how are you guys? Good, great to see you all this morning. Thanks for being here. I got really excited about this panel, and I've got some notes on my phone just to make sure that we don't get too far off track. But really, the thing that makes me most excited is that I think we've got some of, at least some of our countries, and actually outside of our country too, most impressive accelerators in the world represented on this stage. So really excited to be talking with you all and to be just entering into this conversation. So one promise that I like to make about panels is that I really want these folks to disagree in like a wholehearted but healthy way. So I'm gonna try to poke you to disagree with each other a little bit, and I hope you're up for it. But then the other promise that I'll make is that there's only going to be one question that I ask all of you to answer, and it's this first one coming right out of the gates, just so we can get to know you. So would love to know in 2 minutes or less who you are, what you do in the world, and actually how that thing started. Because I think it's of course interesting to know the growth and success that you've experienced as of today, but I think even more interesting is to know where did it come from and how did it start at its very early stages. So Steve, we'll start with you.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me. Steve Barsh, I'm a managing partner at Dreamit Ventures. My background, my formal background is computer science and software engineering. I've been a serial entrepreneur my entire career. I help, along with one other person, run Dreamit Ventures today. Dreamit Ventures is a 10-year-old, the way we position it these days, venture fund and accelerator. We think of it actually in that direction. The backstory on Dreamit, it started in Philadelphia 10 years ago. There were 3 co-founders that were all successful serial entrepreneurs. I was not one of them at the time. I came in a year later, but had the idea originally like, give back, how can we help? What are the things that we wish we knew to accelerate companies? So it started in that kind of classical acceleration model 10 years ago. Today it's evolved greatly. We focus on 3 verticals, which is health tech, urban tech, and secure tech. And we just run 3 verticals twice a year and pump a lot of companies through. Main offices in Philadelphia and New York, and companies come to us from all around the world to go through our programs, mostly post-seed, pre-Series A.
Cool. Why did they start Dreamit?
Why did they start Dreamit? Originally, it was very altruistic, right? To give back. How can we help other entrepreneurs? And started to do that whole, $25,000 for 6% very early model that's evolved greatly in the industry. And then they kind of realized, wait a second, there's a tremendous value creation going on here, and kind of evolved the model. Yep.
Thanks. Murat?
My background is also computer science. I'll make this very quick, but great to be here with these amazing people in the whole room. Thanks to John and Galina for making the introduction. So my background is computer science. I'm originally from Turkey. 25 years ago, I moved to Silicon Valley. After 5 years in the Valley, I was so bored and dying. I didn't like the Valley. I moved to New York 20 years ago. Go New York? Yes? All right. I love New York. But when I first moved here, I could not connect with other entrepreneurs. I've been starting companies for the past 20 years, and I could not find angel investors, VCs. I couldn't find a lawyer that knows what a convertible note is. So after spending a couple of years in Tokyo, I came back to New York, did another startup, and 11 years ago, I started a nonprofit called Entrepreneurs Roundtable. And we've been doing free events for entrepreneurs and investors for the past 10 years. 120th event will be in 2 weeks. So as we were doing these free events and meeting people, and I was running my own startup, we got to meet everybody in New York, the angels, the VCs, the startups, and startups are coming to us. And me and my co-founder, John Axelrod, we started helping people for free. We were like just helping, giving back to the community, and we really enjoyed it. And then in 2011 summer, after John and I, we both exited our startups, we were thinking about what should we do next? And then it really came very naturally and organically that New York is such a great place for startups, and at the time there were no accelerators in New York City. Actually, that's the year like most accelerators came to New York City, and in 2011 June we started ERA 1. Right now we are running ERA 15. We made 165 investments in the past 7 years. We have 400 mentors, around 12 venture partners, 35 lead mentors, and 50 corporate partners. Our companies have raised a total of $350 million. They are worth more than around $3 billion. Around more than 10% of the portfolio exited. And we are now also working with many governments around the world. That we do no equity, no investment, global US market entry programs for Korea, Japan, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Belgium, and now the European Union. So it also shows us really those global startups want to come to New York, And it's actually, I would love to get the business card of the EDC person because we have not been in touch with EDC, so that'd be great. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Aman.
Great, thanks. Hi, everyone. So my name is Aman Verjee. I am the Chief Operating Officer of 500 Startups.
Can everybody hear Aman okay? I don't know if your microphone's on.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I am very disagreeable, so feel free to poke, no matter,
Great.
No matter on what topic. I do love New York. I still consider myself a New Yorker, even though I relocated the family out to Palo Alto to join 500 last June. I still love to come back to New York, and it is just so self-evidently to me a better place to live. More diverse, more going on, all kinds of different things. You will not get an Accelerator awesome ditty in San Francisco. If you walk to an event, you'll get mugged. Somebody will steal your cell phone. You'll be greeted by the smell of marijuana as it wafts into the city. Here you got Broadway. You got a lot of great things to do. So I still go back and forth. I really enjoy the way the whole firm started about 8 years ago. Was we had founders from PayPal and Google who began writing seed checks at a very, very early stage in the Valley because they recognized that there was a lot of innovation and a lot of activity in about that 2009-2010 period that was it was rapidly accelerating, and they thought they could pick winners, but they had an idea around a broad, diverse portfolio. And then I think they thought they can just help add value to those founders at a very early stage and have them benefit from some of their experience from PayPal and Google, where they also tapped some of those networks. And thus the Accelerator was born, and the idea of 500 Startups was, let's invest in 500 companies, because that is the broad, diverse portfolio, and it's like a lot of call options and a lot of cool companies, and then let us help them in the offices as much as we can and accelerate them and take a piece of the equity. We are a venture capital firm. We have about $500 million under management, and we are very returns focused. I love doing great things and helping people out, but I like making money, and we are unapologetic in the fact that we are returns focused while making a great impact for the world. And we think that Accelerator is a great way to do that, to enhance returns, also to be a brand to attract startups. We've now blown through our 500 Startups name. We're at 2,058 around the world and counting. Just yesterday, what time zone am I in? Yes, yesterday afternoon we had batch 23 in San Francisco. We run 2 batches a year now in San Francisco, 1 or 2 out of Mexico. We've now done accelerators in Kobe, Uruguay. We've done them in Oman. We've done them in Kuwait. We've done them in Qatar. And so we're taking our thesis broad and global, and that really is what we're about.
Great, thanks. Wendy, over to you.
Okay. Microphone.
Thanks for helping me bookend this
Thank
couch,
you.
by the way.
I know, we got all
It's
the
good
gender-
gender diversity on the stage.
Yeah, we're watching you guys.
Wait a second, you're assuming I'm a guy? What a judgment. How dare you?
Got that later. So my name is Wendy Bronfin. I am with Techstars. I'll give you a really quick background on myself, and then I'll talk more about Techstars, which I think is more interesting. I first heard about Techstars 4 years ago, and I ran a Techstars startup myself. It was a great experience, not a great business model. My background is in education and technology, and I now run product and marketing for Techstars. Techstars is a worldwide network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. We have 41 accelerator programs running in 25 countries, 41 accelerator programs running in 25 countries, and those accelerator programs have sometimes multiple classes in a year. We also run more than 4,000 startup and community events in 125 countries around the globe. So we are based in Boulder, Colorado.
Most beautiful place on earth.
The most beautiful, greatest smelling
I'm not
place
biased.
in the world. I love going there. I live in Brooklyn, New York, and the organization is fully distributed. Techstars started about a little over 12 years ago by David Cohen, who had been a serial entrepreneur, and he recognized the pain in going it alone and trying to figure out how to run and start a company. So on the back of an envelope, he said, what if we created a thing called an accelerator, and we built a network around helping founders succeed. And he got a chance to speak with Brad Feld, who is sort of like the spiritual leader of the Techstars cult that we're kind of all a part of. And They, I think, scheduled a 15-minute meeting. Within 10 minutes, they said, okay, well, we'll just get a group of 10 entrepreneurs together. We'll see if we can help them succeed. Founders need support. Let's give whatever we can to them and see if that works. 15-minute meeting ended in 10 minutes. Brad said, David, I'm not sure if you're a crook, but you don't seem like one. Give me a couple minutes to do some diligence on you, and that's how Techstars started. So we have a culture of 30-minute meetings that we try to end in 10 minutes internally. The Techstars culture is all about founders first. Our intention is to help entrepreneurs succeed, and we do that by betting on teams of entrepreneurs that will run businesses. But the intention for us is that when you become part of the Techstars network, you are Techstars for life. So there's a lot of people here who probably have touched Techstars a little bit. And really, we're betting on people, do we want you to be part of our family, not only today, but 30 years from now? What else are you going to do, and how are you going to contribute to the whole ecosystem?
Great. Thank you, guys. I'm a little feedbacky here, so I'm going to try to not screech at you. There we go. Murat, I'm curious to know, and I'll ask a couple of you as well that maybe didn't touch on it so much in your intro, but what is your business model specifically? How do you keep the lights on?
Right. We raise funds from rich people. We give it to startups.
It's a really good plan.
It's true.
Can we have their phone numbers?
Yes, that's for you.
Yes.
And we only make money if the startups exit.
Great.
That's it.
Yeah. Would anybody disagree with the statement, you are a VC, first and foremost?
We have a VC fund. We actually do follow-on investments.
Yeah.
So our initial investment is $100,000, but we can invest up to $2 million into each startup. One of our companies just raised $24 million, and we put in $1.25 million into their Series A round. Thank you. But it's a mix, yes.
Anybody else? Would you disagree? Steve, you look like you're primed to disagree.
No, I wouldn't disagree. We're exactly the same model. We're a fund. The way I almost think of it is if you look at a lot of venture firms today, and I think a lot of us saw this coming years and years ago, if you look at First Round Capital or Andreessen Horowitz, they write a check, and then they have their platform team kick in. We have our platform teams kick in first. It's called acceleration. Well, for Dreamit, we accelerate first, and we invest after the fact.
Actually, yeah, that's interesting. Why do you do that?
Why do we do that? Because we think it's unfair for most of the companies that come into Dreamit. We think, $100,000 for 7% of their company is not cool. So we get an investment right for $500,000. Company goes through Dreamit, we accelerate them. We have one KPI for acceleration. What percentage of our companies close around within 6 months of getting out of Dreamit? And at that point, we can take our investment right and write a check at the market-defined valuation. So it's a very different model. It's very entrepreneur-friendly. But at the end of the day, I think of us as a venture firm. Our platform comes first, not second.
Interesting. So what percentage of your companies do you actually go to invest in at that point?
Within 6 months, half raise their round within 6 months.
That's great. And it doesn't matter how big the round is. They just have to raise the round that they set out to raise.
Yeah, but most of them are I'd say 25% are doing seed rounds and 75% are doing Series A's. And we're going into those with up to $500,000 check. And our goal at the end of the day, I think like you, our goal is to write checks.
Yeah.
If we don't put money to work, same thing. We don't make money. It's not, all the law firm sponsorships, all that's gone. It doesn't work for our model, and it's not worth chasing around. Now we make money by being a venture firm. So
cool. Wendy, you look like you want to disagree with me.
Yeah, I don't want to disagree with you. I just want to tell you that I don't think Techstars, we don't think of ourselves as a venture firm.
Okay. What do you think of yourselves as?
We are a network. We do have an investment part of our network, of course, and we do want all of the startups in our network to succeed. But we've got sort of 3 lines of business. So we've got the Accelerator business. We also run, as I mentioned, community events globally. There's I should take a minute to say there's 2 types of Accelerator programs we run. We have our city-based programs, which are, what did you call them? Theme agnostic.
Vertical agnostic.
Vertical agnostic. And then we have Accelerator programs that we run in partnership with corporate partners. And those partners help us support and run those programs. They bring mentors and advisors into the program also, and we share responsibility and in the investment of the startups in those accelerator programs. But we would never say first VC.
Okay, great. So, Aman, I'm curious, is Accelerator, you're COO of 500 startups, you're probably looking at the business a lot from a lot of different angles, and is acceleration good business in your mind?
Yeah, I think it can be. I think it depends on how it's run. I think we have a couple of different revenue streams. I think like others on the panel, we have AUM and that generates management fees. That is not enough to pay the bills, and so we supplement that with other revenue streams. In the accelerator, we do charge a fee to every company that goes through the batch in the accelerator, and that's a standard fee, and we try to break even on the accelerator. So whatever revenue we have coming in on the accelerator goes to the facilities costs, the overhead, the venture partners we have. When we do a batch of about 40 companies, we'll have between 6 and 8 venture partners for the whole 4-month program. And then, but that's basically a break-even business. We do have some other marketing programs and generate some partnership revenue, and that offsets some of our marketing costs. So we're trying to build our brand and get out there. But really, where we make money at the end of the day is when the funds perform well and get into carried interest. That's really where all the partners benefit. So I think that's really. That's the end game. Everything else is sort of a means to an end, and we try to operate on a break-even, disciplined way so we can keep building our brand, building our network, but not run ongoing deficits, waiting for the carry to come in.
Cool. Is anybody else running in that sort of break-even mindset? I mean, you said that you don't want to chase sponsorships, and that, yeah.
We run in the same mindset. So if you think of Dreamit, there's the accelerator and there's the fund. They're two different entities. The fund is buying that investment right from the accelerator. It provides funds back to the accelerator, so it keeps it self-sustaining. It's strictly a break-in.
When you say it provides funds back to the accelerator in the terms of the management fee from the fund?
Not just the management fee from the fund, but it also buys that investment rights package. So there's an internal mechanism. And I think this is, if you look, and you have a much wider purview than I do with GAN, so many of accelerators have failed because they can't figure out a business model for themselves. I mean, everybody up here has, and it's evolved, and I think that's really important. I think the other thing, just to address quickly in the questions you're asking is, first, what is an accelerator? That's something to be defined, I think, is the next panel. But is the accelerator a not-for-profit? Like, what's its goal? Like, our goal, and like us, we're a community. There's other, venture fund is a little cold. I'm just being stark about it. But what's the goal of an accelerator? Is it to, like, a lot of times, and we're from Philadelphia, and we get dinged that we don't create enough jobs in Philadelphia. And I say, but that's not our job, right? So what's the goal? Is it a not-for-profit? Is it to create jobs? Is it to create companies and make successful startups? Anyway, side note, but.
Yeah, no, I like that. So would anyone want to comment on when acceleration is bad business? Come on.
I can certainly think of a couple of things where, I'll give you a couple of examples where I think it can be a bad business. I guess like any business, poorly run without the right strategy can go wrong. A couple of tensions that we face. One, I think exactly as you mentioned, we want to stay very true to our goal is to back and discover the world's best entrepreneurs and help them scale businesses. If the city of Philadelphia, the city of, Palo Alto, one of our LPs might be a government, if they start chastising us about not creating enough jobs in Mexico, in New York, not having enough immigrant entrepreneurs, not having enough entrepreneurs in a certain vertical, our answer is, that's too bad. We fight and back the world's best entrepreneurs. It turns out that there are a lot of great entrepreneurs in Mexico, and we invite them to apply and come to our program, and we'll do everything we can to source those deals. But if we're not generating returns on those companies, we're not going to force ourselves to invest in those regions where we don't think there are the right returns, and we're not going to be subject to scope creep. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of accelerators, especially trying to serve those multiple interests, will get pulled in different directions and not have the financial discipline to properly resource those bets. A lot of them don't know when to say no. They get pulled in, in regions or in verticals or in cities where they just can't. They end up under-resourcing the bets. I think that becomes a huge problem.
Yeah. So acceleration is bad business when you're making bad investments.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Thanks.
Yeah. Or when you're, to your point, I mean, it was much more intelligent than that too, because when you're not able to fully resource those investments, that makes it bad business too.
I'll say something. You want controversial?
Yes,
I'll say
please.
something controversial. When is an accelerator bad business? When they don't know what the hell they're doing. I think
All right.
95% of accelerators around the world add zero value. Zero.
Oh, them's fighting words. Oh,
No,
95%.
I'm not saying about you guys. I'm just saying we see so many, and it's like, where's the acceleration? Where's the de-risking? We see companies come out of certain accelerators from around the world. I'm not talking about people on this stage. And you're like, you just sit there and go, you're kidding. What did you do? Like having a bunch of startups running around cool space like this, spending 4 months together and eating pizza and drinking lattes doesn't make an accelerator. So I think I don't know how you define it. It would be great to
It's a
get a
co-working
definition.
space at best.
Yeah, it's a co-working space. But I went through an accelerator. We're doing an accelerator, and we always say, cool. What's success look like? What are you trying to do? What's your KPI? What's your North Star?
Yeah.
So it's bad business if you're not adding value to startups and you're just wasting people's time.
I would agree with that. Anybody else want to comment on when or why acceleration might be bad business? Not so much.
There's one more trap I think we
Yeah.
can't fall into. At least we've seen. I think you showed some of the exit data as well. We've seen, in our funds, if we get 5 to 10% exits, that's pretty good. Usually the top 1 or 2% will return the fund. It's very easy to get enamored of the bottom 90% or the bottom 80%, and you spend a lot of time. Not me personally, but my venture partners. Then they start lobbying about follow-on checks. Oh, we want to invest in the company that we would rank maybe 27 out of 100. And that's scarce capital, and the returns probably aren't going to be there. But they get 4 months in your program. You get emotionally attached. You get interested. You want to see them succeed and support them, and that begins to color your judgment as well. And it's very tough to be as ruthless as you need to be to focus your resources in that top 5 or 10%.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Okay, I want to shift a little bit to just understand the global nature of what you are all doing, because I think...
Wait, can I ask you a question to be controversial?
Yeah.
You have a worldview on this. When is an accelerator bad business? What do you see?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to flip the...
No, it's okay. I like that. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So to me, accelerators are bad business when they're doing some of the things that you described, like when they're not, when they're sort of a host or a landing space for startups, but they're not actually driving productive growth. That said, I think co-working spaces and incubators and a lot of different models are entirely vital to healthy startup ecosystems. But I actually think that if your business is betting on the successes of the startups in there, you've got to actually change the model in order to make it a successful accelerator. The other thing that I would say is that when accelerators, and this touches on a little bit of what you were talking about, when accelerators are not playing to their strengths, it becomes bad business. If they're taking on a vertical that they have no business being in,
Right.
Even if they're vertical agnostic and they're taking on whatever it might be, you're taking on an aerospace company and you have zero resources to support that aerospace company, you just think they're going to be the next big thing. I actually would sort of say that is both risky for you as an investor, but incredibly risky for the startup, and it's really not fair. And so to me, acceleration becomes bad business when it's no longer founder friendly, and that's a big part of, you've got to know the limits to your support as well, and know
Right.
when to say no, even to a great company, pass them on to a friend or colleague who does have the resources to support that investment.
So accelerators are bad business if you run a bad accelerator.
Deep, yeah.
We keep doing that up here.
You're right. Okay, so now shifting gears a little bit to understand the global nature of what you all are doing. You're all operating in multiple different ecosystems. Is that true for ERA as well, right? Yeah. So maybe starting with ERA even, how do you decide when to go into a new market? What are the elements of that ecosystem that you're really looking for?
So we are very focused on running ERA in New York City and doing a great job. And we've been doing that for 7 years. But around 5 years ago, different governments started coming to us and saying, hey, Murat, come to Korea and start ERA in Seoul. And I told them, I'm a Turkish guy with a Japanese wife living in New York City. My wife is from New York. We are not moving to Korea. So we did not...
Fully qualified then to take it on.
Exactly. We should have. But we did not believe that we had the network and enough reach in Korea to run an accelerator, and we did not want to franchise the brand. So we actually talked to the Korean government and we said, we cannot do that. So they said, how about we send you our companies, our best companies, to New York, and your network is very strong in the US. You help our companies in the US, give them local insights, teach them how to act in the US, change their product, change their strategy for market reach. And we've been doing that for the past 4 years. We run the official New York accelerators for the Korean government, Japanese government. Norwegian, Swedish, Finnish, Belgian governments, and we are just now starting with the European Union. Their Horizon 2020 program in September will bring 5 to 10 companies. And we do not invest in those companies, but we don't take equity. But if the companies are doing really well, we offer to invest from our investment fund. So there's so much interest. We are talking to many other countries about this. So organically, we ended up bringing global companies to New York instead of franchising our brands globally.
Ah, got it. So you're sort of doubling down on New York as the ecosystem in which to do all of that work for those partners. How about 500 startups? How do you guys decide which ecosystems to play in? Or maybe even more interestingly, how do you decide when to say no?
We don't say no.
All right.
No, we do say no. What we try to do is we come up with a macroeconomic framework for which countries we think are going to have the best or richest startup ecosystems. It's usually a combination of very strong economies or at least an underlying business environment that we think is positive, combined with like what's the cultural proclivity for startup success. In the U.S., it's especially in Silicon Valley, and I think in New York, there's a lot of reward, social and economic, for trying and risking and failure, and then picking yourself up and moving on. It's just that's not the same in Saudi Arabia, for instance.
Yep.
And then we look for very strong general partners in those markets who we think can raise the fund and identify and invest in the best startups. And where we kind of go 2 for 2, good backdrop and a great team. That's where we resource. And if we feel like one or the other is missing, then we just say no.
Yeah, cool, interesting. I'm curious to know, maybe from a Dreamit perspective, if you think that it's almost a chicken and the egg question. What comes first, strong ecosystem or strong accelerator? If you're going to go plant yourself somewhere, do you see your role as being part of like bringing that ecosystem along to maturity, or do you need to pick a mature ecosystem in order to put a Dreamit location there?
So we don't, we have a headquarters in Philly and we have an office here. We don't really do that model as much. We don't put them. We bring startups in from around the world. I was in Israel all last week meeting with just tons and tons of cybersecurity startups. So our startups come from all over the world, but we also run a hybrid location program. You don't relocate for Dreamit anymore. You spend 5 weeks with us, but you don't do the 14 weeks we're going to move. We stopped doing that, by the way, a couple of years ago because we had a lot of entrepreneurs that are that post-seed, pre-series A in their late 20s, right? And like, well, you need to relocate to Philly or New York for 4 months. And yes, New York is wonderful, but they're like, I've got 3 kids under 12 and I live in Haifa. I'm not moving for 4 months. It's just not going to happen. So our location, we have companies that come from all over the world into our programs, into our different verticals, but we don't run out in all the different cities.
I asked you the wrong question.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Wendy, would you answer that question?
Which one?
What comes
The right
first?
question or the wrong question?
Yeah, so
The ecosystem.
what comes first, the ecosystem or the accelerator? And I know you guys have a lot of different sort of upstream, downstream activities.
Yeah.
So maybe focus specifically on the accelerator piece.
Okay. We do have a lot going on internationally, globally. I don't think we look for a ripe startup ecosystem. We believe that entrepreneurship can happen everywhere, anywhere. We have programs in Tel Aviv, in London, in Berlin, in Adelaide, like all over the place. And I think what we're finding as a sweet spot is we've got this model that's scalable and repeatable, right? We know that we can bring our accelerator programs and spin up like unusually quickly in all these different places, even as we break into new territories. This year we announced Techstars India, which is a big endeavor that we're doing. But what we're finding is that in working with our corporate partners, we are really being able to help these established organizations around the world play in the sandbox where entrepreneurs are. And that's something that sort of is helping us be able to spin up programs in different locations pretty quickly.
Awesome, thanks. So we're at, if not overtime, and I apologize. I'd love to do we have time to take 2 questions, or should we go straight into a coffee break and people can come up and chat with us? Oh, 1 question, no pressure. Whoa, he was fast. Wow. Here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mehmet Umut. I'm the founder of Smart Professions. I have a quick question. So we have been talking about accelerating companies. What about freelancers. I just want to take your opinion about this. Freelance economy is growing really fast, 3 times faster than the rest of the economy. So do you have any plans regarding accelerating freelancers? Thank you.
Yeah, I think we have a number of tracks in our current accelerator. One of them that we're thinking about is like I wouldn't call it a freelance track, but more of a future of work track. And I think what we are, what we'd be keen to identify as companies that are just thinking about employees and their relationship with their employers and how they produce and distribute work content. And we would, we'd love to identify and think about 4 or 5 companies like that in our next track.
Can I take a shot at that? So, love freelancers, critical, important part of the economy. I'll just talk about Dreamit's model. I don't know if other people have a similar thought. It doesn't, a freelancer and having an acceleration program, if you think of us like a venture capital firm and community, it doesn't fit really well. And let me just give you an example of that. So for 6 or 7 years, Dreamit has run Dreamit Health. And we've built over 100 digital health and med device companies. And twice in the last 3 years, I've had a pediatrician look me straight in the eyes and say, I've got a great idea for a health company. And I go very meta on them first and say, what's your definition of a great idea before you tell me what the idea is? And I've told them twice, these are independent situations. I've asked them, what's your definition of a great idea as a pediatrician? And they've said, if I can save one child's life, it's a great idea. And I tell them, you know what? You're right. I've had a very sick child. He's fine now, but you're right. That is a great idea. But it's not a venture backable idea. It doesn't work for us. If you go to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, if you're not saving 1 million children from malaria in Africa, they're not going to invest. So again, freelancers and what you're doing in photography is phenomenal. For our models, it typically doesn't fit really well because we're looking to put large venture scale and checks to work. So sorry for the long answer.
No, it's great. Can I steal your microphone? Yeah. Hey, thanks, you guys. Seriously, Steve, Murat, Aman, Wendy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Great. All right.